Welcome back to Tackling Heat Illness. We're here again with Dr. Israel to talk about what happens when our bodies can't regulate temperature efficiently and why that can be dangerous. We know that heat illness occurs in stages or increasing degrees of severity. Can you explain the stages and characteristics of each level of heat illness and what should be done when they occur?
Absolutely. Exertional heat illness can present with different levels of severity. It can start with exercise-associated muscle cramps. These can be described as involuntary and painful contractions of the skeletal muscles during or after exercise. In this case, the athlete should stop the activity, rehydrate, and passively stretch the painful muscles until symptoms improve. The athlete can then resume full activity. Heat syncope can occur despite the athlete having a normal core temperature and is a result of blood pooling in the lower extremity. The player can complain of dizziness or nausea and can even induce a brief loss of consciousness. This usually occurs after standing for a prolonged period of time or suddenly stopping the exercise. These athletes should be placed in a shaded area and placed in a recumbent position with their legs above their heart. It is important to monitor their vital signs, including heart rate and blood pressure. These athletes can return to activity once symptoms and vital signs normalize. Once the body core temperature begins to increase above 102 degrees Fahrenheit, we are beginning to enter that territory of exertional heat exhaustion. This is a very serious stage of heat illness where we see symptoms such as minor cognitive changes, nausea, and decreased blood pressure. It's important to immediately remove excessive clothing or pads and keep the afflicted athlete from all physical activity once displaying these symptoms, and immediately start cooling them down. Once we get to this stage of exertional heat illness, it is pertinent to get the athlete to a doctor immediately. The timetable for return must be dictated by a physician who can speak for the player's well-being. Only when cleared by a physician should a player return to normal activities. If core temperature reaches above 105 degrees Fahrenheit for more than 30 minutes, damage at the cellular level begins. This is where signs and symptoms become seriously life-threatening. A heat injury can occur at or above 105 degrees Fahrenheit, and this is where organ failure begins. Once an athlete reaches 105 degree core temperature, an EMS must be called immediately. From that point, if an athlete is displaying any signs of confusion, loss of balance, aggressiveness, delirium, or loss of consciousness, then they're experiencing a central nervous system dysfunction. When a player is experiencing a core body temperature above 105 degrees Fahrenheit and CNS dysfunction, they're displaying telltale signs of a heat stroke. This is the most serious of all exertional heat illnesses and must be met with direct action. When a player reaches this point, it is of the utmost importance to immediately get the afflicted athlete into a full immersion cold water or ice bath. Only when their core temperature normalizes to about 101 degrees Fahrenheit is it safe to move the athlete and take them immediately to the ER. Always cool down first before transporting.
This sounds serious. How do we know if conditions are safe for practice?
First, we need to talk about measuring the conditions. In the past, we used temperature and heat index to determine whether summer practice and activities should be rescheduled. Unfortunately, those metrics do not show us the bigger picture. Arkansas now requires the use of the wet bulb globe temperature instead. This measures for 5 major factors that relate to heat: humidity, air temperature, sun angle, solar radiation, and wind speed for a better overall picture of the conditions. The law requires readings before and during practice to monitor conditions. Readings should be taken in the exact environmental conditions that practices and activities will take place, including indoor practice facilities. Any reading above 92 on the WBGT index means that conditions are unsafe for activities. The other issue to worry about is measuring core body temperature. This can only be done with the rectal thermometer. That's one reason why it's important to have a licensed athletic trainer on staff. Otherwise, if you suspect a player is suffering from heat illness and you can't take their temperature, it's important to act immediately anyways as if they are overheating and call 911. Once EMS has arrived, they can take the afflicted athlete's body temperature before they are moved. You can never be too safe, and hesitating even for a moment can be costly.
Thank you so much, Dr. Israel. That was important information. Join us for our final lesson as we talk about preventative measures that every coach needs to know.